Oh, no. Oh, you've got to be kidding me.
Today, doctors at the Federal Communicable Disease Center acknowledge the flu vaccine in the recommended dosage is ineffective, while in a larger dose, it can be harmful. However, the flu vaccine is still recommended.
This month, a Senate subcommittee headed by Abraham Ribicoff charged that the federal government wasn't doing a good enough job of informing the public about ineffective vaccines.
Scientists at the Division of Biologic Standards test vaccines for their potency and safety before licensing them for public use. However, the division does not determine the effectiveness of the vaccine. That is left to the manufacturers. A case in point is the influenza vaccine. 4 scientists in charge of work on the flu vaccine during the 1960s found it to be ineffective, said they refused to give it to their own families. 2 were transferred to other work, a third left the division. And over the entire 10-year period, not one word of their unfavorable findings was allowed to be published. That was 3 years after the division's own scientists had pointed out the danger. Dr. Murray justifies the use of the vaccine by saying it took 3 years to examine the evidence against it.
It was more important to use the vaccines than to take them off the market and remove the agent. It's more important to use the vaccines than to take them off the market and remove the agent.
For 3 years, American troops were injected with a cold-preventing vaccine, which was causing cancer in laboratory animals.
Okay. There we go. It was more important, that was in the 1960s. It was more important to sell the vaccine than it was to take it off the market because we knew what was wrong. That was the 60s. What do you think they're doing now? Oh, good gravy. Anyway, I know. And every time I say good gravy, my husband laughs. I guess that's just the hick in me, right, Melissa?
Isn't all gravy good? That would be the Midwest way.
Look,
think.
I have
all
some
gravy
sayings.
Is good.
I have some sayings from my grandma that I can't shake, and they just come out. And my husband just thinks it's a riot. I say things that are like so old. Like I'm surprised I don't say oopsie daisies all the time.
Hey, now wait a minute. I say both of those things. I say oopsie daisy periodically.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
And I say good gravy.
So lame.
It's better than saying other things that we would be not on the air to say.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Jiminy Christmas is my other favorite one. That one, that one's a good one.
Holy moly.
Holy moly. Love holy moly. Yeah, I mean, I have a lot, and I can thank my grandma and my parents for that. So anyway, I welcome you. I've got Melissa, and I'm so glad that you are with us because we have kind of a fascinating topic. But to start things out today, I do want to go to the news. What's funny is I used to do a news broadcast when I was on a Fox News affiliate, and I started interjecting the news as it's supposed to be instead of the news that was written. And there was one woke guy in my city that ran another competing newspaper, not a competing because we weren't a newspaper, but we were just an online radio show. But he just had a fit over it that I wouldn't follow what the AP said. And the guys that are picked to, in my city, we have 2 publications and both are just total wonks. They're woke. They're just gross. Anyway, they're just liars. And so I laugh because this was kind of like what the newscast, but I'm going to play this pretty low, and you can chime in, Melissa, if you want, but here is the real news of the day. And so, I just wanted to say that the rocket, Elon's rocket, actually ran into the moon. And this is the only grainy picture that they could give us. Whoops, sorry. Here we go. This is the this is the 1950s grainy photo that has absolutely nothing clear in it whatsoever, except a little arrow with a white dot-ish that is... Yeah, this is supposed to represent today's photography. So I just wanted to remind you guys that this was 1960s photography.
It looks to me, Kate, like there's a whole bunch of rockets hitting the moon from this picture.
Uh-huh.
Like all those little white dots. Are all those little white dots?
Yeah, so this is 2026, and then this would be in the 60s. We've actually digressed. This is what they're showing you today to pass for photography. So I just had to mention that one. That was an interesting one. I also wanted to mention this, that the sailors are trying to go overboard in Iran. This is what they're telling us anyway, on the SS Abraham Lincoln. You know that, and they can't have cell phones and things like that are coming out. Maybe they're seeing what's actually happening, and it's not jiving with the news. So maybe that's why we're having an issue, and why they're getting so depressed and wanting to jump overboard. I also wanted to give you this for a second. Social Security adds 14 conditions to disability fast track list, and I want to tell you this because this is kind of like courtesy of the shots. So this is all the new fun that we get to deal with because we believe in the government trying to help us and give us our immune system in a bottle with a needle. Here we go. We have Bartzer-Winter syndrome, Behr-Stevenson, Girardi syndrome, Boring-Opitz syndrome, cask-related gene disorders, Lafora disease, malignant migrating partial seizures of infancy, the OPHN1 syndrome, the primary cardiac sarcoma, new heart cancer one, the uveal melanoma with metastasis. Oh my gosh, I can't say that word. The Warburg microsyndrome. All of these are affecting your nervous system, your developmental systems, and gaining in cancer. So isn't that lovely? And then on top of it, I just wanted to basically let you know that the Texas case with the well, it's basically a California couple trying to murder their child in the womb for because it's being held by a surrogate, right? The surrogate. Texas intervened and actually made some progress on that. So the Texas Ken Paxton demanded he's the AG, protection for surrogate and unborn child with a birth defect. See, they found out it had a birth defect, so they'd like to murder it. And Texas says, no, you can't. So kind of interesting. Keep in mind, though, that Texas was the one that had the one case that started the horrific murder of a child in womb. So there you go. But at least they're standing up for that one. And again, today I add the 2026 moon photo. Sorry. So again, 1960s photography. Okay. And now we have probably taken in Greenland because they have a spot there where they film moon stuff. This picture. Okay. 2026, you're supposed to believe that. Okay. Anyway, just wanted to let you in on some of the news today. Oh, and by the way, the very, very connected Kushner family bought the Lakers, Josh Kushner, for over $12 billion. That was kind of interesting too. He's an interesting cat. The whole family is, by the way, completely bought. So completely Israel. So anyway, Melissa, am I happy to have you? How are you?
That's nice.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, not everybody does want me.
Well, well, are you aware of all of the new syndromes that we're facing? All the new diseases and cancers?
Well, if you just keep your ears open among your friend circle, you're going to hear some of it. I have been astonished. When the moment came for us all to be making the decision about all of that.
Yeah.
And I was saying to friends and family, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And now, all this time later, friends, many friends have weirdness that they can't explain. I have a friend who goes to the Cleveland Clinic. I have, people are just doing there's just all kinds of weirdness. And I'm like, I don't even say anything anymore. There's nothing else to say except, I'm so sorry that you're going through that. Because what else can you do? Nothing.
Yeah, sadly.
But
I don't, it's so interesting. Social Security adds all of these fast track new ones. Okay. If the immunizations actually worked, you'd be the healthiest person on the earth. Okay. Because it would be doing what they said. But it's obviously not when they have to keep fast tracking new diseases and illnesses. And so frustrating to me that idiots can't see it. I'm like, I can't, I just call them idiots now, because you would have to be moron stage idiot to not see it anymore. Like, you just have to just ignore it.
People that don't see it at this point are never going to see it.
No,
they're never going to see it.
Sadly.
And I read a little, it's one of those little cliche things that kind of circulates around. And this is what it said. It said, never take health advice from people who believe in the overpopulation of the earth. And we kind of did that, didn't we?
Yeah,
the whole country was just like, and we're still doing it.
Yeah, we did.
We're still on that track.
Amen.
Don't take health advice from people who want us to die.
I know. By the way, 2 days left. I just wanted to mention this real fast. 2 days left. katetalks.myshopify.com on the ebooks. 5 books for $34. That's what one of them goes for retail. 5 of them. So you get Disney, organ donation, the truth about that, the truth about Disney. And there's a long history on Disney that no one realizes. And this is coming from a 20-year producer. And then, of course, cancer. I'll use the word resolve because of censors. How to resolve cancer, not using the cabal. And if people remember that are new to the show, that are watching on YouTube right now and Rumble and X, I was the one that did a viral video that went out to over 20 million people that described how I got my husband out of the hospital without the ICU killing him. So we were one of the rare ones. And I followed the frontline doctor's advice whom I'd interviewed. And then I rejected the government mandated hospital AI and also Fauci's recommendation. No, it was actually forced on people, remdesivir and a ventilator. We refused that. And then he walked out. And then he walked out of the ICU, walked out in 3 days, okay, in his flip-flops, and then went golfing on day 5. So just to say that, I take research very seriously. Here's the latest 5 ebooks for the price of $34. It actually supports the show and research because it's not doing so great, because when you tell the truth, you're in the small minority in media. So thank you for supporting. Appreciate it.
Did you by chance watch any of the congressional hearings? Not just with Fauci, but with the doctors that they brought in?
Yes.
It was fascinating to listen to.
Oh,
because the truth is there. Now, I know not very many people are going to sit down and watch. Even I didn't watch a whole lot of it. But, while I'm eating my lunch, I flipped on the TV and watched an hour or so of it. And it's fascinating. And the doctors that are testifying are absolutely indignant that no one would listen to them. They're angry that they were kicked off of social media and not allowed to be doctors. So it's fascinating. It's just fascinating.
Our era in lunacy, and people fell for it hook, line, and sinker, and were telling grandparents they couldn't see their grandkids for years, and ostracizing people. And it was people dying in nursing homes all over the country. When the nursing homes are run and they get money from the government, then they are beholden to the government. And so they weren't even questioning it. And so all those workers were doing exactly what they were supposed to do, keep the elderly away from their families. Can you imagine dying that way?
Well, yeah, because I had family members that did die that way. But what I would say and add on is that hospitals have not entirely changed their tune. It is being circulated in my town right now that one of the big provider hospitals here is putting pressure again on their medical staff and on patients to make sure that they're COVID vaccinated. So round 2 is very slowly beginning again. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the hospital told people this round they will not tolerate religious exemptions this time. So who would do that? Who's doing that? Who at this point, especially if you're any kind of educated medical provider, who would be doing that?
I know a couple of doctors who stopped talking to me, and I know them very well, like lifelong, and they stopped talking to me when I told them that I got my husband out of the hospital without the hospital killing him, and then wringing their hands and lying to me and telling me COVID was killing everybody. And what's crazy is when you get right down to it, it's ego. It's just ego. Yeah. It's just, that's it. It's ego. They have to be right. They have to be the only ones that know anything because you're going to them for their expert, whatever advice. And the only thing, and I'm being brutally honest here, the only thing I ever realized was that they're kind of idiotic. And they don't do any research, and they only listen to the hospital administration. They don't even question the administration. That was what I learned. And I was so sad about it. I really was, because I was like, these people are morons. Like, we're going to morons for expert advice. And I was like, ooh, like this is a big problem.
Hospitals are for-profit enterprises.
Yeah, only go
They're
if you're
making
bleeding
money.
out. Yeah.
And that's why the business model is all about administration. It's not about patient care necessarily. My husband, everybody here knows that my husband just had some major surgery at the end of last year, and we were very happy with the doctors and the service that we got. But things have kind of cooled off from that earlier time, and now it looks like they're going to heat it up again.
Yeah.
So who knows? But there's doctors that care, and there's doctors that are just there to, do what they're told to do.
Yeah.
And I've said this before. I know someone who quit a job because a hospital administrator said, you write one more ivermectin prescription, we're going to fire you. And she wrote one more, and they fired her.
And now look at all the evidence coming out on ivermectin and cancer, and ivermectin and all these different things it's treating. I mean, and it's the safest thing that pharma puts out. So it is really amazing that they could be that dense. But I did have an ICU nurse write to every single doctor and staff in the hospital that we were in and say, you guys need to look at all this. There's proven things here that this family did, meaning us. And they completely rejected it and told them that they were no longer going to have this person work there because they dared to say something. I know. It's sick.
And they sold all that in the name of science.
Yes.
And since when? It reminded me, even at the time, of the story of Galileo, where he forced you to recant because we have this view of the universe and you're bucking the system.
Right.
Well, you can force someone to recant, but you can't change the truth.
Yeah.
And that is not science.
That's true.
Science is built on people taking a different view and testing it out.
I agree. So look at what we have now. All these very, very new conditions. Lyase deficiency, Aicardi syndrome. I know I'm killing the names. I'm the name murderer, but whatever. You get the idea. The Behr-Raitzer Winter syndrome, the Behr-Stevenson cutis gyrata syndrome, the Boring-Opitz syndrome, the cask-related gene disorders, Lafora disease. All of this, and there's way more. All of this coming from, what do you think it's coming from? Our bodies aren't just producing these diseases. It's insane that they're selling this to us.
The real
as
travesty
natural
of it is that it's still, the doctors are all saying,
yes,
these are mysterious. We don't know why this is happening.
Yeah.
Why
I know.
is it happening? We can't figure it out.
We're so diseased. We just can't figure it out, but we're the smartest people on earth. I always loved it when Dr. Joel Wallach, who was an autopsy guy, a vet, and an MD, wrote the book, Dead Doctors Don't Lie, because what he was telling people was, look, I've been researching doctors and death, and they die younger than anybody. What is their advice worth? They can't even save themselves. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Anyway, all this coming out, with fake Chi, and that's a whole circus because they would actually have him on charges. There'd be real court trials if they were going to do anything. It's just a circus, like all the circuses before it, like Benghazi and like Mark Zuckerberg, the face of Facebook, all of it. So it was a 3-ring circus, and it always will be. And then they get a Stern talking to. I love that. You cause millions of deaths, but here's your Stern talking to. So I hope the public's relieved. It's insane. Anyway.
Agreed.
All right. So let's bring on the topic that you brought on today.
All righty. Well, let's do a little thought experiment, Kate.
Yeah.
Imagine that you go into your doctor. That's a great place to start. We're going to the doctor.
Okay.
And the doctor says, Here, let me introduce my lab tech, and they're going to take some skin samples from you, and we're gonna culture these for scientific purposes.
Okay.
Would you be in favor of that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I
Who
needed to ask
wouldn't?
that question after the discussion we just had. But
Who wouldn't love it?
nonetheless, if you can imagine
Yeah.
the new horizon, while we're all out here, spinning our wheels, worried about the AI data centers, and I am worried about them.
Yeah.
The new horizon is called organoids. You heard that word yet? This was a new one to me.
Organoids.
Organoids,
Like-
tiny clusters of human cells. They can take apparently pretty much any cells, apparently.
Yeah.
Skin cells,
Let me
whatever. And they slosh them around in a special solution, a magical solution, and they can create them. They can return those cells back to stem cells.
Okay.
And then they are allowing the stem cells to grow into neurological cells.
Let me play this clip. This clip describes what you're describing. Here we go.
Get this, every cell in your body has the potential to become brain tissue. That might sound like science fiction, but researchers can take a sample of your skin, blood, hair, or teeth, revert those cells into an embryonic state, and then grow them into tiny clumps of human neurons called brain organoids. I visited labs where these mini brains are being connected through electrodes, guided through video games, dosed with drugs, and even used to control robots. From my office in LA, I remotely zapped a culture of living human neurons at Cortical Labs in Australia and watched it respond from 8,000 miles away. A neural culture in this lab has already learned how to play video games like Pong and Doom. Researchers say organoids could transform drug testing and eventually create computers that are adaptable, energy efficient, and self-repairing because they're alive. As for sentience and consciousness, that's where things get a little gray. You don't need permission to experiment on brain organoids because from a bioethical perspective, they aren't people. They're not even animals. But if organoids someday graduate from their current bee brain size to, say, mouse brain size, this protocol will have to evolve. Trouble is, scientists have yet to come to an agreement of where exactly to draw that line. Until then, let's just get back to playing video games.
Yeah, and scientists are always right. And they get to decide when a consciousness is a consciousness. But the organoid can play a Pong. Is that right?
It can also play Doom.
Okay.
They have taught it to play.
Okay.
So, and do you remember if you go back in your memory, where did AI begin? Because I was talking to my son about this earlier today, and he was just like, well, where was AI 20, 30 years ago? Remember when we had a computer called Super Blue that could play chess?
Yeah.
And it was beating like Bobby Fischer?
Yes.
So Pong is not the most sophisticated game, right?
Right.
But
Well, I don't know. I
talking
played it in the
about-
70s. It was pretty fun, but go ahead.
Yeah, my husband did.
I was
And that's what he
entertained by
said.
it, apparently.
Yeah, well, those of us that lived in the 70s, we were just more primitive little blobs of cells then. We weren't as complex as they are today.
Right. Oh, gosh.
Anyway, so you can create these organoids because they come from stem cells. That scientists are sending these in multiple directions. Like you can have liver organoids or kidney organoids, or you could have heart organoids. And one of the really, and as everything, all these technological developments come bundled with good and bad.
Right.
The good part of this is they can grow these organoids, they can grow heart tissue, and then they can test various, whether it's a new drug, whether it's a new treatment method, whatever. There's a role in all of this for medicine.
Okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they can even take brain organoids and test Parkinson's medicine, for example, which is very difficult to test and study in
Right.
an animal study or whatever. All of this is, that whole thing. And they're looking for ways to reduce animal testing because it's cruel and inhumane. And yet we don't want medications to come online unless they have been tested. So there's all of that.
Well,
So
yeah.
that's, that's maybe the legitimate, although I have some, we'll talk about the ethics of this in a minute, because I
Okay.
have some ethical questions about it.
Okay.
But what's really kind of unsettling to me is that in particular, when they start growing these brain organoids, which is little tiny bundles of neurological tissue, they're neurons. They're little neurons, and neurons all by themselves reach out to other neurons and start to build little networks.
Right.
Because that's what neurons are. That's
Mhm.
what they do.
Mm-hmm.
They want to connect. They like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the clever people out there are saying, well, AI is kind of clunky. We're
Mm-hmm.
taking a machine and trying to make it work the way a human brain does.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we just take a human brain and see if we can mold it to the machine?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a new so they've put some of these organoids, they've tried to connect them to microchips
Mm-hmm.
as a new type. They're calling it, wait, what was it called? It's not AI, it's like OI. It's has some different abbreviation, like organic information, intelligence.
Okay.
Anyway, I have reservations about whether I really want a machine paired with actual human cells that can, well, does it think? We don't know. Nobody can tell you what consciousness is.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can define it. Nobody
Right.
knows. Does it feel pain? Does it hurt? Does it have human anything?
Yeah.
It's human for sure.
Well, I mean,
And
yeah.
it's that uncanny valley syndrome, right? Where it just kind of gives you the creeps. If you knew that you had donated cells for this kind of research, and that somewhere out there was a little chip running a computer
Mm-hmm.
that was a piece of your DNA,
Or
hanging
Chip
out
Jr. Little Chip Jr. running out there. Somebody's
Yeah.
little biological mechanical son. Yeah.
Yeah. So they train these things, these little organoids, to play pong by doing electrical stimulation. So when it does the right thing, they feed it all the things that it likes.
Mhm.
When it does the wrong thing, when it makes a bad play, then they create chaos for the little cells.
Yeah.
Did we feel sad for the cells?
Right.
It just opens up.
I sometimes wonder, I've had this thought before, so I'll share it vocally, and it might seem absurd, but sometimes I wonder, if they can do the things they say they can, or if it's just easier. So there's always a bait and switch with everything. And so they're saying they're going to create this, but at the same time, wouldn't it be easier to just fill us with metal parts and fill us with the things that make us live forever, right? And so, like, I'm thinking about the Kardashians, Hollywood, like everything they sell is look 20 eternally. And I'm wondering if they say they're creating that, but really the bait and switch is just filling us up to the brim, and they've brainwashed us into thinking that enhancements are good for us, and enhancements are coming, and all of these things we do to enhance ourselves. So
Well, they're not. The stuff that I was reading today
yeah,
does not even suggest that as the horizon. Although I was thinking about that.
yeah.
But this is the beginning of that. It's
Mhm.
not hard to imagine that if you can somehow collaboratively have these little neuron cells that they can implant into you,
Mhm.
they could take your own cells. And that was in some of the reading and some of the articles that have been published about this, that they're looking at. Remember when we were promised personalized medicine?
Oh yeah.
Individual medicine. Well, we're going to take your cells. We're going to make
Mhm.
we can create these little stem cells, and perhaps we can fix whatever's wrong in your brain. Maybe we can fix your heart. Maybe we can fix your liver. And this is the beginning of that.
Mhm.
They have to be able, I don't think the solution will ever be just to put a metal thing in you that will give you what you want. My
Mhm.
husband's he's an electrical engineer, and he works with little components, and they're breaking and doing weird things all the time.
Mhm.
So imagine if you had that capability that you could insert something that was biological that
Mhm.
did that.
Yeah.
It's a whole other ballgame. So why would anyone, and they're not predicting that we're going to have a laptop that's run on cells. That's
Mhm.
not what the end game is here.
Mhm.
But what these biological computers can do, they're adaptable.
Mhm.
They change depending on circumstance because
Right.
they're self-learning.
Right.
They're self-organizing. They can build complex networks without anyone telling it to do that.
Mhm.
They're self-repairing.
Mhm.
So they can fix themselves when things go wrong.
Right.
And in all of the hullabaloo about data centers, these things are energy efficient because our bodies require much less
Mhm.
energy than the AI data center to do the same thing. So if you had living cells that you just have to feed a protein broth to,
Yeah.
that's nothing compared to the environmental damage being done by an AI data center. And
Right.
you can get the same results from it.
Hmm.
They can be long. Right now, they're not able to keep them alive forever,
Mhm.
but they do have a potential to be able to make these things. If they're self-regenerating, they can go a long time, potentially. That's where
Yeah.
they're hoping to go. So
Crazy.
it's just really kind of unnerving to me.
Mhm. It should
And
be
before,
more than
well,
unnerving. Like I can't even imagine, on Facebook somebody was just asking, what do we fight? Organoids or or data centers, or
well,
what,
I had an idea this afternoon.
What's that?
I told my
All
husband,
of
I
it?
said, wouldn't it be a great science fiction book when the organoids are fighting the AI?
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
there's the great organoid war. and my husband looks at me, he goes,
Oh
oh yeah,
gosh.
that would be the plot of Terminator, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
seriously. Oh my gosh. There's
So
so much out
I
there
want
to
to
fight.
take this also into this direction. And
Okay.
because this is a predictor, this is the best predictor of what lies ahead with this.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is uncharted ethical territory.
Okay.
But is it really?
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of people, maybe some people in the audience have read a book called The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks,
Mm-hmm.
which was about a Black woman in the 1950s who went to the hospital. I believe she went to Johns Hopkins, of all places,
Mm-hmm.
and received treatment for cervical cancer. And when they took the tumor out of her, they discovered that her particular type of cervical cancer
Mm-hmm.
could grow in the lab.
Right.
And they began to grow and grow and grow and grow these cells. Now, Henrietta was never told that her tumor cells were being harvested and kept and grown and anything.
Mm-hmm.
She did not know that they were going to be reproducing these cells outside of her body.
Mm-hmm.
She did not know and was never told that scientists around the world would use them. And I don't know the people that initially took the cells realized that that was going to happen either.
Mm-hmm.
But does a patient have the right to know what happens to biological material removed from their body?
Hmm.
Do you think?
Well, I would
So-
think, yeah.
My husband just had a tumor removed. Do we know what happened to the tumor? No.
No. Ugh.
Do we know what happens to any of those tumors?
Mm-hmm.
And you can even go farther down the road when an abortion clinic removes a baby. We have no
Mhm.
guarantee what happens to those cells. What happens to that to the tissue of that baby? And we know from things that James O'Keefe has exposed
Right.
that there's a market for that kind of thing. But is this the kind of market that we were envisioning?
Jeez.
Yeah. So when we do genetic testing, what happens to the cells that we're giving over? When we give a tissue sample, or when anytime somebody's in the hospital,
Right.
and if they can take your skin cells, for goodness sake, who would even,
Right.
blood samples and all the different things in your body? Well, for Henrietta Lacks, what happened to her cells was that the tumor cells that were taken from her became what's known as the HeLa cell line, HeLa, from the first,
Right.
her first name, Henrietta, and her last name, Lacks.
Hmm.
And they began to culture these cells, and it became the cell line for testing of cancer, polio, all kinds of virology stuff, genetics, radiation, vaccination studies were done. And Henrietta's cells were sold. The cell line was sold all over the world to labs, and the labs created commercial products all over the world.
That's right.
For financial compensation for their company.
Right.
And she never knew, her family never knew, and they were never compensated for that. Should they be compensated for that? And I raised this issue because the tension is, these cells came from my body. I have a right to control what happens to them, against the scientists who are saying, well, researchers need freedom to study for the benefit of all of society, and that's going to be their
what decade?
line.
What decade was Henrietta? Was that the 50s?
I think her surgery is 1951.
Right. So if you think about all the way back to 1951, very crazy what they'll do now. Like, just kind of think of, ethically where we were at in the 50s to where we are now. Right. And so, yeah, so it's kind of interesting that it's
well,
you have to understand, like what you said. What are they doing with all those tissues? What are they doing now? If they did it so brazenly and got away with it in 1951, what do you think they're doing now?
Well, would you be so inclined? Now, there are some people who would say, yeah, I would volunteer cells if it could improve, the life for everyone on the planet. That would be great. However, would you do it if you knew that your cells were going to be sold to a company now that's going to make a computer product that they're going to resell, and it's going to make them millions and millions and millions of dollars? Are you willing to pony up your biological data, which will include your genetic information? There's a privacy issue here. There's an ethical issue here about what they do with it. Are they going to, what do you do with people's donated, not even donated sometimes, just extracted tissue? Like I said, my husband had a tumor removed. I didn't want it in a jar to bring home.
Right.
But what happened to it? I don't know. Henrietta Lacks didn't know. Yeah. Because none of us know what happens to those tissues. But if they're sold on an open market for a commercial product and commercial gain from somebody else, whether it's a pharmaceutical company or an AI, data company, whatever, should we be compensated for that, or should they even be allowed to do it at all?
Yeah. It's a good question to bring up. I think people aren't curious enough to even think about it. They don't care what happens to the things once they're removed from your body, or who takes possession of them, or what they're used for. And in her case, she certainly didn't give consent. And so, yeah, we're in a pickle because of our lack of curiosity,
Well, this has been going on for a long time, and I don't know that it's lack of curiosity. I mean,
I do. That's what I think.
I had read that book. I read that book a long time ago, and yet my husband had a tumor removed, and I didn't go to the doctor and go, now what's going to happen to the cells?
Right.
You know, where are they going to go? And we knew that they had to be biopsied because they had to test happily his tumor was
right.
benign. But I'm not going to ask how do you dispose of those tissues afterward? Who even knows that?
Right.
And what would I do about it if they said, well, we're going to put it in a tissue bank and keep it forever? Am I going to get an attorney and sue him for it?
Right, right.
What am I going to do?
I don't know. And I don't even know if you could make a request that they would actually honor and maybe just tell you they were honoring. You know, you just never know.
How would I know that?
You wouldn't. But all along the way, though, we haven't been curious enough to ask simple questions like that, though. You know what I mean? Like
we're in a new place now where maybe we should be asking that question.
Hopefully. Yeah, hopefully we are. I sure hope we are.
The real question here is who benefits from scientific discoveries like this that are, sitting on the back of human tissue, that kind of thing. And does the benefit to society justify using it any ways in which scientists or labs decide? Who gets the final decision here?
Right.
Is the donor of the tissue get a voice in the process, or is it just, whatever the scientists say they want, they get?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Henrietta Lacks, if you read the book, it's a very interesting book. And her family was very angry because while the hospital and the companies that her cell lines were sold to made fabulous amounts of money, her family continued. She was a poor Black woman and she continued to struggle. And her family said, yeah, would they have done this to a rich white woman?
Right. With means to maybe sue them once they found out,
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But is it any different today? And maybe I actually think the racial thing is different in that I think that the medical establishment would do this to anybody. And I think the technology component of this, they would too.
Yeah.
They really don't care about us.
Right.
So, and when I say us, I mean all of us.
Yeah.
They did this to a group of Native Americans. Some scientists took some cells from them with the pretext that they were going to try and study alcohol problems, alcohol treatment. And when the tribal organization found out that they had done that, but they had also used it to study mental health issues, the tribe got their backbone and they sued because they said, now you have breached our privacy and we are concerned that whatever outcome you get from your testing could potentially negatively impact us, our families, and our future. Wow.
So amazing to me. It's funny that you brought up alcohol because when I was doing the radio show, the national radio show, we brought it up that our government was willing, capable, and did, in fact, it's not a theory, in the 1920s, a federal program that deliberately poisoned alcohol and killed 10,000 plus Americans during Prohibition. Yet that was 1920s, 100 years ago, and we still continue to support and love our government and think in an emergency they're there for us. I mean, it's diabolical. It was a federal program that killed over 10,000 people. They murdered them. And no one even brought it up again. And people, when I did it on the radio show, people thought we were lying. They were calling us up and angry at us. Listeners were angry that we would accuse the government, the beloved government, of that. And I was like, you have no idea what your government would do to you. You have no idea. That was 100 years ago when you thought, when people would have thought that would have never happened. They did it. They did it and got away with it at the time. Isn't that amazing?
They did that to Henrietta Lacks in 1951.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they entirely lied to her, but they certainly didn't disclose anything to her or her family about what they had done.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the diabolical in government, and we run to them when they say and lie to us that an emergency happens, and we go to them for the future of, it doesn't even matter what it is, the future of, hey, the government's in charge, or the government has regulations on it, or the government is watching it, or the government is looking into it, and we actually trust that. There's people out there that literally trust that oh, the government's taking care of us. They're taking care of our future too. They won't let organoids get out of control. They would never poison us. They would never lie to us about COVID and pull off the world's biggest lie and blame it on China. No, they would never do that. It's almost amazing. Like the people still to this day can't figure it out.
It's good to know that organoids right now are not out of control.
Yeah, well,
they're very tiny. They're very, but you can already see the trajectory that this is working on. And the people involved in it, the scientists that are working on these kinds of projects, are not very concerned about the ethics of it. That's a discussion to have another day when things might be a little bit more further progressed.
Yes.
And, when things are, if something gets out of control, but if you wait till things are out of control, then you've waited way too long.
Yeah. I mean, on here, we're getting some comments, COVID, be aware of PSYOPs. They're going on all the time around us, all the time. And every day we wake up to PSYOPs. And yeah, they did the same thing with HIV. And yes, they did the same thing with the 1975. What was the 75 at Ford? Because he embellished the 1918 numbers at that point, tripling the numbers. What was 1975?
I don't know.
What vaccine did they come out with? Sorry.
Oh, I have no idea.
Gosh, what was it? My brain just left me. Like 1975. What was Ford pressuring everybody to get? I know the audience can help.
Was it a flu vaccine? Possibly?
Yeah, it was.
Swine flu or bird flu or something.
Yeah, it wasn't the Spanish. The Spanish was 1918. What was the? Anyway, I mean, they're all lies, and they embellish all the numbers before that. It's amazing.
That's part of the reason why I shared Henrietta Lack's story.
I'm so glad,
because I think that's not a PSYOP. They really did do that.
Oh, yeah.
Because those cell lines are the foundational cell lines from which much of our medicine is based.
Swine flu.
So now nobody was quick to disclose it in 1951 or 1961 or 1971.
Right.
Nobody was talking about it.
Yeah.
But I believe there may be some truth in organoids. I don't believe that is the PSYOP. Now, what they can do with it may be a PSYOP, maybe.
Yeah.
But it certainly does give us a real insight into where they want to go.
I could agree with that. I think what they do with it, how they portray it in the future, could be the PSYOP. Sure.
Well, the PSYOP could be that this is the solution to all things that trouble us. Oh my gosh, look, we have a breakthrough. We can cure cancer. Look, we have.
Right.
And I'm going to go back to what I said. Don't take healthcare advice from people who want to depopulate the planet. That's not a good plan. And I don't know that any of these people are have our best interest at heart.
They don't. And it's sickening. It was swine flu, by the way, in 1975.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So,
didn't they pull that? They pulled that vaccine, though.
Yeah, they pulled it after 50 to 100 deaths. And they didn't do that.
That was better than COVID.
Yeah, they didn't do that for COVID, the COVID lie. The entire COVID lie, the whole entire PSYOP, killed millions because it was a PSYOP, not because it was an actual thing. So it just, so frustrating. Well, you know why it's frustrating? Because I'm going back again. Let's go back to 1918. They took the numbers. I did the research on 1918. It didn't even make front page news, guys. All over the country, I looked at all the newspapers. It didn't even make front page news, hardly. Like maybe one or two papers. Mostly it was buried in page 5 to 9. And there weren't as many deaths as people think. And then they kept embellishing the numbers. They embellished them in 1940. Then they embellished them and I think tripled them in 1975. And then they doubled that number. Obama doubled that number. They did it again in 2004, but then they went from 25 million to higher than that, 40, I think it was, and then went up to 50 to 100 million deaths. So over the course of 100 years, they thought we were so retarded that we would forget the news. And they took a number which was very low, not low, but low, and embellished it to 50 to 100 million. And we still believe them when they stand in front of a microphone and say, there's an emergency and we have to shut down the country and we're about to die from the sniffles. And I was like, you've got to be kidding that we would go for that. But they do think we're not going to remember.
I told you what I think about the Spanish flu. We talked about that long ago. I believe that the Spanish flu was the result of a badly cultured equine. They were using the vaccine that they inoculated World War I soldiers with came from Fort Riley, Kansas. The first cases of the Spanish flu came out of Fort Riley, Kansas, and they had taken samples from horses there. It was a cavalry post to culture the growth on.
Yeah.
To culture the vaccine in. And I believe that they were actually injecting people with equine encephalitis.
Yep. And guess what? When people want to know the money side that no one ever mentions too, that it was the first soldiers to ever be insured was World War I. And most of the soldiers didn't even know they were insured. And so each enlisted personnel could purchase up to $10,000 in yearly renewable life insurance from the U.S. government. A lot of money back then. So has it always involved money? Yes. Has it always involved some big payout to somebody? Yeah. And isn't that insane that they were the first soldiers and they didn't tell, like the soldiers could purchase it, but it was under weird circumstances where a lot of the soldiers wouldn't collect on it. The families wouldn't collect because they didn't even know. So it must have been wedged in the paperwork somewhere.
Well, I believe what happened with the flu vaccine that ultimately became, number one, the name of it, when they named it the Spanish flu, it was kind of a bait and switch because it didn't break out in Spain. It came from the United States. And I mentioned on the show, I have my grandfather's World War I letters, and he was very ill right after he received his vaccines to the point that they had to put him in sick bay until he recovered.
Yep.
He had not gone yet to France, which is where he was headed eventually. However, I think the widespread inoculation of American World War I soldiers took that to Europe. And then when it began to break out in Europe, then the Europeans were demanding, oh, we need the vaccine here too, because look, we're getting sick too. It was almost entirely an artificially created epidemic.
Yeah.
It was created by our own scientists, and the connection between using equine cells. What happened later with polio? The polio vaccine was contaminated with SV40, which is simian virus. It was monkey virus.
Yeah.
The thing that they culture our vaccines in matters, because we shouldn't be injecting things from other animals into our bodies.
Oh my gosh. Amen. I'm so glad you brought up even the beginning of that or part of the beginning of that used in the war, because they were the guinea pigs. That was the start of the soldiers truly being our guinea pigs, and the soldiers could not refuse.
Well, in 1918, there was trust in what they were supposed to do.
Right.
And I know that because I'm reading my grandfather's letters where he says that,
They didn't think they had to question every single thing they did. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I get it.
So anyway, let's finish this whole polio cycle all the way to the end. Because of the polio vaccine was tainted, it caused what? It was cancer causing over time.
Yep. And the war on cancer.
SV40 is a cancer-causing agent, which is why we saw the increase in soft tissue cancers over the next 30 years after the polio vaccine. So when we look at COVID and the vaccinations and we see the increase in cancers and heart disease and all these kind of weird syndromes and neurological stuff, it makes me question what they cultured that in. What's in it? And I have heard that SV40 was also in the COVID vaccine.
Yeah. Yep.
Even though they know full well.
Well, that's what Judy Mikovits said. It was just a, crap show of stuff, like a blender, and they would just blend it up. So the COVID vaccine was just a mixture of blended everything that could hurt you. And they were popping that off also as the flu vaccine. They were masquerading it as everything. So when people get a flu vaccine and a pneumonia vaccine, and they can name it whatever they want, right? Kiss my ass vaccine, whatever the case may be, it's all the same ingredients. That's what Judy Mikovits said, and she worked with those guys. So that developed those in the government. So I believe her. I totally believe her. Amazing. Well, but you were onto something though when you said, what are they culturing these things in, and what are we putting into our bodies, and what should we be putting animal products into our bodies, and diseased animal products, like you said, it came from diseased monkey kidney cells, the polio lie.
And what's interesting about SV40 is that it is a monkey virus. It is the disease that impacts monkeys, but monkeys don't get cancer from it.
Right.
They just get sick and get over it. But they carry the disease with them.
Yeah. So,
but in us, in humans, it causes a different impact.
Right.
So what is it going to be like? Do you want to have an organoid injected into you for whatever purpose?
No.
Do we, they're talking about the medical use of it. And like I said,
I'm with you.
Who doesn't want a cure for Parkinson's? Who doesn't want a cure for diabetes? Or who doesn't want a cure for heart disease, or, whatever we're talking about? Who doesn't want those things? But maybe we need to go into it with our eyes wide open about the potential impact of that.
Right.
What is that going to really mean? And the other half of the equation, that's the plus side of it, is medical research.
Right.
The other part of it that just really leaves me feeling squeamish is, so some of the suggestions, like what happens when they develop a robot and they can put some kind of organoid brain cells in for its brain.
Right.
It's not going to be just wires and circuits. It's going to actually have a living biological, neurological brain of some kind.
So
right now they're working on getting it about the size of a mouse brain.
Yeah.
So the problem right now is, in order to keep them alive, they have to have a blood supply. They have to have a way to deliver the nutrients that those cells need to live.
Well, Joshua says it's called Neuralink, courtesy of Elon, the front man. So maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Interesting connection.
Yeah.
So we don't, is Neuralink just using your whole brain as the organoid? I don't know. It's a fascinating thing.
Yeah. Well, they went from the 50s, when the CIA was developed, intelligence agencies went through the roof, and what was their first cause of action? They developed a Cold War that was fake, so they could mask the fact that they were doing brainwashing techniques, right? So they wanted to take us over in a lot of different ways. And they did our health, they did mentally, they did it with culture, they did it with the whole women's movement. I mean, you name it, it was a product of this brainwashing. And so you can only imagine, if they were going to put in the time and the resources to do that back in the 50s, where are they at now with it? So I think they're light years ahead of where they're even telling us they are. That's what I think. Because they always have been. They've always been ahead, way ahead of where they say they're at. I don't know. Something's really wrong.
Well,
so,
can we finish out our little conversation here with Frankenstein, a book that I adore because of the things that provides for us to think about in our high-tech world.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what Dr. Victor Frankenstein said after he's reflecting back on having created life. He said, "Learn from me, if not by my precepts, at least by my example. How dangerous is the acquirement of knowledge." And I don't believe that Mary Shelley was writing a book that was a parable about we should all be stupid and we should live in the Stone Age. She's not talking about we shouldn't learn or pursue knowledge or do research, but she's talking about pursuing, as we pursue knowledge, we should ask whether this is knowledge we should pursue.
Yeah.
Is this something we should do?
Yeah.
Are there any limits? And so far, I have seen absolutely zero desire to put limits on anything. We can't even agree about, gain of function research.
Yeah.
They want no limits on what they do. So I think Mary Shelley is warning us in the book to not be so intoxicated by the power that we have, that we could create these amazing things, but to think about the consequence of creating them.
So true. Just because you can, should you? Yep. Yes, I'm with you on that one for sure.
So organoids, should we do it?
Yeah.
Not can we do it,
yeah.
but should we?
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a little crazy. It's when you get into kind of where we're at, spying and what they're doing to us, the brainwashing and the health and everything else. I saw somebody do an article the other day, and it was somebody that I respect, and she goes, why are we answering all these insane, crazy census questions when they know exactly what's going on in every house in America? Remember that Windows was named after the possibly, allegedly, the window into every home. So, I'm just saying that if we look at the common sense part of it, that there is no denying long laid plans and the craziness of those plans. What you just laid out was 100 years worth of them experimenting on us. And we have worse health now than we've ever had. If Social Security is adding all of these brand new diseases to the list that you can get, money for, our money, our tax money, they don't say that it's plunder. That's pretty sick, right? And that cancer is now 1 in 2. Why do you think I wrote the cancer ebook? It's how to do it naturally. It's 1 in 2. So if you look at the whole thing, 100 years of them experimenting on us hardcore, that's the hardcore part of that, probably 150 years, but about 100 years, then just look at our health has gone in the toilet, even despite the fact that we have really good plumbing. And usually that's what causes disease, is bad plumbing. So, eating your own feces and so feces runoff. So look, if you just look at the entire thing, we can understand that these people are not for us. They are literally against us. Like you said, how many eugenicists work in this field of government? Because it seems as though all of them are. It's beginning to look like that if you take our health into consideration and go, we should be the healthiest people on the planet right now. But we're not. We're the worst off that we've ever been in 100 years. We have more disease, more cancer, more illnesses, more everything, even despite their little shot program that was obviously there to harm us, not help us. So I don't know, your ending thoughts on that?
Well, the point of a eugenicist is not to harm us, but to improve us, or at least improve some of us.
Right.
And I think that's the rub, that we don't, the eugenics movement and now out of control science. If you look at the creation of AI and the damage that it's going to do to our environment, to our water, to our everything, then they're not really interested in what's good for people. So what are they interested in? That's the question, I think.
Getting
If
rid
you
of the
wanna be
bottom feeders.
curious, what are they really interested in?
I think they're getting rid of the bottom feeders. But
Which has
what-
always been the point of eugenics.
yeah, back to the Beatles, that song Piggies. You know, you in your piggy little house with your piggy little wife, with your piggy little life and your piggy little job. And of course, the Beatles did not write that song. George Harrison did not write that song. That song was written as a big like fu to the bottom feeders. That's what that song was written for. It's amazing because we're in a society hell bent on destroying us, and we don't even. It's so hard for people to see it. And I never thought that it would be this difficult. And 2020, that did shine a light. You're right. That did shine a light. Big old light, big old gaping hole on the whole thing. I really do hope people are finally understanding what we're up against, because they've been developing their tricks for a long time. And we just kind of bought it hook, line, and sinker, didn't even ask questions. Like, gee, did the DDT cause all those symptoms? Why are you saying it's polio? You know, like that. Like we didn't even get curious about it in the way back. Some doctors
Because,
did, but
you know, Kate, it's because people are basically, I think it's because people, most ordinary people,
mhm.
are basically
Stupid?
good at heart.
Oh.
No, they're good at heart.
Sorry.
And we have a hard time imagining the heart of darkness
I know
that
you're
lies
right.
out there.
I'm gonna go with stupid, but yes, a heart of gold.
No,
I know,
not
I know.
stupid. I think people, we want to believe. We want to
Mhm.
believe in something. We want to believe that the government really does have our best interest.
Yeah.
If you talk to any of the people right now who are pushing vaccines or
Yes.
pushing the war in Iran, pushing you name it,
Yeah.
they see a positive benefit somewhere on that pathway.
Mhm.
And that's not because they're hateful. It's because they see positive. And you know, it's very
Yeah.
discouraging to have to disillusion them.
I know. It's really hard. Sometimes, I mean, ever since 2020, I found it much harder to do this show actually before COVID in one way. And that was because I was trying to get people to understand these long laid plans. But then when COVID happened, I thought, okay, now people have to see it, right? Like they have to. But there still are people, especially in the medical field, that still can't. They refuse to. And I think it's out of ego. I think it's an ego problem. They can't admit that they might have killed people. And told families it was COVID as they wrung their little hands. I'll never forget that nurse wringing her hands going, "It's COVID, it's killing everyone." And I'm like, you're a moron. It's not. It's what you're trying to offer people, trying to get people to take. So I do think people are pretty good at heart. And I do think that they can't perceive the evil. And I do agree with you, Melissa. Yeah, they can't perceive the evil because they're not evil. And I do get that.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
I
right.
do.
I
I think
think
that's
that
why we
is-
still do it. Like we still do this show and trying to wake people up daily, you know, because of that.
Well,
So,
I don't want people to focus on the evil. What
Yeah.
I want is for them to be aware so that
Mhm.
they can focus on what is good.
Yeah.
Because as long as you deny the evil, then you can be victimized by it.
Or
So that's-
underestimate
that's-
it. So I feel
that too.
like a lot of us religious people underestimate Satan. We underestimate evil. We underestimate the core of evil, and we do not give it what it deserves. And that is a big shining light on what it is actually capable of. Because I think people can do evil things, and basically they could even think they're good in heart, but do it for power, money, control, whatever. And I know that they probably have to convince themselves. I don't know how that works, but there are a lot of people out there on the take. There are a lot of people doing the little work. That they are the hands of this mechanism of evil, and they don't even either realize it, or they don't think that they're doing the harm that they're doing, or they don't even, maybe they know they're doing some harm, but it's a drop in the bucket. I don't know. We'd have to do a whole show on getting in people's heads, but it's just pretty amazing, you know?
I'm just sitting here thinking maybe we should return to the 7 deadly sins.
I know, right?
I know,
Oh
we
my
should discuss that
gosh.
sometime.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Melissa. I appreciate you and your work that you did on this. Appreciate it. It's waking people up, that alone. So thank you. Appreciate you. Okay. I also just wanted to get the ebooks. There's only 2 days left to get them all for $34, and it's to raise money also to keep the show on the air. So I would really appreciate it if you do that. You're helping free speech, so at least you know you contributed and helped out, and that would be completely amazing. So go get the ebooks. There's 5 of them. All of them have great info, great insights, and you're going to be glad you did. Then you can share them. And also go get some Cardio Miracle. It'll help you feel better. It's a lot of nutrients, veggies and such, all kinds of things to help that whole system work better. And I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in. I mean, come on. I'm glad that that you realize you can get some info here that is going to be important for your life. And so Lynn on Facebook said, just purchase the ebooks. Thank you. See, you did something. You helped free speech in some way. And in this way, it keeps this forum on this show out there for people, because I'm telling you, so many people have come to me in the last decade and they've been like, I had no idea. I didn't even think about the world population lie that they're telling. I didn't even connect that to eugenics, or I didn't realize 100 years of the vaccine program has harmed us more than it's done anything else. And people it's hard to look back in context and see it in a whole. Like we're not trained that way. We're trained to only remember what happened in today's headlines. So I constantly go in the Wayback Machine, just like I played that clip from the very beginning of the show. I played a clip today and it was from the 1960s. And I just wanted to play it for you again so you could hear it. This is from the 60s, you guys. So long ago, okay? 60 years ago, this clip, okay? Here we go. News clip.
Today, doctors at the Federal Communicable Disease Center acknowledge the flu vaccine in the recommended dosage is ineffective, while in a larger dose, it can be harmful. However, the flu vaccine is still recommended.
Last month, a Senate subcommittee headed by Abraham Ribicoff charged that the federal government wasn't doing a good enough job of informing the public about ineffective vaccines.
Scientists at the Division of Biologic Standards test vaccines for their potency and safety before licensing them for public use. However, the division does not determine the effectiveness of the vaccine. That is left to the manufacturers. A case in point is the influenza vaccine. 4 scientists in charge of work on the flu vaccine during the 1960s found it to be ineffective, said they refused to give it to their own families. 2 were transferred to other work, a 3rd left the division. And over the entire 10-year period, not one word of their unfavorable findings was allowed to be published. That was 3 years after the division's own scientists had pointed out the danger. Dr. Murray justifies the use of the vaccine by saying it took 3 years to examine the evidence against it.
It was more important to use the vaccines than to take them off the market and remove the agent. It's more important to use the vaccines than to take them off the market and remove the agent.
Wow. It was more important to sell the vaccines to us, keep them on the market, even after they knew all the problems, than it was to remove them. Why is that? So if they did that then, what do you think they're doing with organoids now? What do you think we're doing with stuff now? I'm just saying it's a slow poisoning, guys. And, it was kind of brilliant on their part to make us a pharma victim for life. For life. You're a pharma victim for life. And they feed off of pharma. So they create the symptoms. What do we do? Then they train the doctors to be pharma script writers. And then we go to pharma, and then you're on 20 things. And we wonder why our health's in the bucket. It just makes me sick. It makes me physically sick to think about the lies we've been told. So I so appreciate you guys. Thank you. And to not end today's show on a downer, Debbie Downer, remember that from Saturday Night Live? So what do? You get really good friends with your local farmers. You buy local meat, not Petri dish meat. Okay. You buy local meat. You make sure and grow your own vegetables. But here's the key to that. Remember the MMA fighter that I interviewed? The MMA fighter that is into soil? And gosh, what is his name? See, brain farting again today. But he developed a soil so mineralized that vegetables were growing like 3 times the amount and 3 times the size and healthy. So here's the deal. Like, I live in Utah. I live in southern Utah. And in southern Utah, we're missing selenium in the soil. So you kind of need selenium, okay? That keeps cancer away, okay? You need these things, right? So that's one of the things we're missing here, all right? So all across the country, you can actually go to Google and look up and see what is missing in your soil in your area, okay? You can actually see what minerals. All you have to do is just go do a little research, okay? And you'll find what's missing. And there are lots of ways to do it. And I even recommend, if the soil is really bad, then do a hydroponic grower in your garage where it kind of feeds somewhat of sunlight, not real sunlight, but whatever, as close as you can get, and minerals, and feed your fruits and vegetables minerals, especially if you're in a climate that is just really, really hard to grow. Okay. So grow your own stuff. Okay. The more seedless crap they come out with is bad for us. It really inhibits more growing of things. And you know that this is a lot of lab work being done. And so there's just so much to understand there, but there are things we can do. And so we should do them, because if we're not doing them, that's on us, right? That's on us. So we have to take responsibility for that. So you can find out what's missing in your soil and make sure that gets added in. There are rods, certain kinds of rods that you can put in your soil too that help a lot. That kind of goes back to, what's his name? See, I'm having, oh my gosh, I can't think today. Anyways, Nikola Tesla. So there's certain things that you can do, and understand that our food supply is horrid. And so take care of yourselves that way. The reason I go to Formula IQ for my supplements is because a lot of supplement companies were sending me their supplements to try and talk to you about on the show. But I chose Formula IQ because, as a sponsor, because I love their products. I could actually feel a difference when taking their products. And that's why I talk about them. There's like 5 or 6 supplements that are probably equal maybe out there. The rest are garbage. So stop buying supplements at your grocery store, please. They have you're just wasting your money. You're just peeing out everything that you're taking in. So don't do that. Chlorella, take chlorella. It actually cleans the blood. Okay. It cleans the blood. There are so many really good things that we can be doing right now. And copper is huge. Copper is the element that it's the mineral that tells the other minerals what to do. And also, well, there's just so much I could say right now. We've got to end. So I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. And I'll be back tomorrow. I might do more on the Beatles tomorrow. That was a really popular episode. Beatles Part 1, the PSYOP, the 60s PSYOP. So that was kind of the beginning of the 60s PSYOP, was the Beatles, interjecting the Beatles onto the world. And none of it made sense. And I go through why. But I think I might add to that conversation tomorrow if I can. So I'll see you here tomorrow. And be faithful, be fearless. Go to katedalleyradio.com for more info on the show. And the show is live. So I love your comments. Thank you. We had a troll today, but I banned the troll. So I appreciate you guys. And then, of course, 2 days left. So please share that link for me. Please, katetalks.myshopify.com. Go get the ebooks that supports the show. And I need your help right now desperately. Please be a part of maintaining the freedom of speech. You lose me, I don't even know who else is out there. I really don't. I know a lot of them, and some of them have passed away this last couple of years. So the ones that I would actually go to. So please support free speech while you still can. Okay. And keep this show going. I really appreciate you guys. Thank you. And I'll see you tomorrow.